Welcome. You're listening to the Skin Ritual Wellness Circle podcast with Megan Jean and Lainey Porter. Here we explore an eclectic collection of our guidance and support towards feeling amazing, calm, and whole every day. We'll learn how to care for our skin, body, and mind, the rituals that help connect us to ourselves, and embrace the fact that our needs are important. If you've ever been cycling from self-loving to self-forgetting, been yearning for better skin with proper advice, or you're ready for the permission to put yourself first and adopt loving wellness rituals into your day, then this podcast is for you. Welcome to the very first episode of the Skin Ritual Wellness Circle. I'm Megan Jean. I'm so excited for you to join us today. You've got me solo today for the first episode, but Lainey she'll be joining us in episodes to come. So in our very first episode, I want to give you a little bit of a pep talk. And whilst I will lead with that once the episode begins, I think that the inspiration for this episode has been months and months and months in the making. Yes, we're coming towards the end of 2020, and I wouldn't pick one person out there that hasn't learned some pretty serious lessons about themselves in this kind of a year. So I ask myself, would I have been chanting this sentiment to you 6 months ago with as much conviction? Probably not. There's been so much growth and so much evolving, so much pivoting in these times. And so in today's episode, I want to share with you all of these teachings, the main key teachings that I'm taking from 2020, but not just that, from a lot of self-work, a lot of seeking for change. And all of that has resulted in a full body hell yeah, that we are all so worth it. We are all so worthy to feel good, to feel like our needs are important, and to vow that we're never going to put ourselves last again. So stay with me. The statement I want to open this episode with is, you are too important. You just are. You know, it sort of feels like that should come with a, you are too important for X, Y, and Z, but it's just a full stop moment, right? And I honestly believe that we stumble across things, we walk past things, we hear things, we feel things, and nothing happens by chance. So the sheer fact that you're listening to this episode tells me that you needed to hear that. You most definitely needed to hear that. And I guess it's coming from a place which is almost indescribable. You know, we hear that saying, you can't pour from an empty cup so much. As a woman, as a person who works, I run a business. I also have children, and no matter what your circumstances are, it may not be exactly the same. It may be more than that. It doesn't matter. We always know that saying, you can't pour from an empty cup is it's there to teach us that if you're not full, then how could you possibly care for others? How could you possibly perform at your best if your cup isn't full? Well, the way I've been feeling lately, I almost feel like saying to you, forget the bloody cup. Why not aspire to ditch the cup and upgrade to a vase? Update to a drum. Update to a well, to a lake, to a river, to an ocean. Because the question that I'm asking is, why should our wellness fit into a stinking cup anyways? You know? And why does our wholeness even have to fill others? I mean, can't we just feel whole for ourselves? Period? Yes, of course, other people are going to benefit. There's no doubt about that. But it's a big mindset change. And I promise you, it's not one that I would have been willing to consider, even at the start of this year. If you're like me, then this is probably a life pattern of caring too much for others, or caring too much for the cause, or feeling so obliged to put in your all for this, that, or the other. But it gets to be reconfigured. The first thing that has to happen is you choose for things to be this way. You have choice. We all have choice. And feeling good within yourself, about your life, in your body, in your home, in your work situation, all the things, the entire life that you've created so far, please know that no matter what it feels like at this precise moment, it does get to feel good. You just have to choose it. This is where logic comes in. And you probably go, oh, I'd love to choose it, but my life just doesn't cater for me to do blah, blah, blah. You know, no. You've got to make the choice and then the rest follows. The next thing to do is to overcome the urge to see the big picture. When you make choices like that for yourself, it's really powerful. And if you allow yourself to see the little ways that the universe starts to unveil its plan, starts to provide you with these little increments of time or ability or little increments of beauty in your life, then that energy of commitment to feeling good starts to snowball. Knowing you're important and making your wholeness and your happiness a top priority does not mean that you now have to allocate 1 hour on a Saturday afternoon for me time. It just doesn't work like that. And I had a really close friend of mine. This wasn't really that long ago. I remember I was talking to her about very similar things like this, like we're talking about right now. And I remember at that point, I may have given her some advice as to how she could feel better, or I gave her something to watch or read. I can't quite specifically remember the circumstances. But what I remember is her coming back to me at a later date. We were just talking about, did you try so-and-so? And she said to me, no, I didn't really have time. I couldn't do it. And I thought, wait a minute, what we spoke about wasn't actually something that she had to sit down and focus on and do. It was something very easy to integrate into the way she was being, into the way she was feeling. And what I realized then is probably a way that I also may have operated in the past. I get to feel good at this time, or I couldn't possibly feel good doing all the normal things that I do. I'll have to wait. I'll have to wait for the opportune moment. It just doesn't work that way. It doesn't have to work that way. So whilst we're going to go through a few things right now, my question I'll open with is, how can you put yourself first? How can you make the moments of your day feel good? And how can you feel whole as much as possible at any given moment with your regular or irregular schedule? There are two very important things that I've been doing over this year, definitely within these last 6 months, that are equally as important as the other. The first one is becoming really attuned to what feels good for myself. But the second thing is actually honoring these messages that I'm getting. Everything sends you messages. Everything. Whether it's your body telling you something as simple as, oh my goodness, I'm so tired. Or I need rest. Or no, I'm really in the mood for some mental stimulation. I mean, potentially that's why you're listening to this podcast right now. You may have had a yearning for a little bit of mind nourishment, and that's great. I honor you for following that little message within yourself. Mentally, I am not feeling good right now, and the message I'm getting right now is that I'm anxious. How can I honor that message to correct it? Or health-wise, if you're finding that something is upsetting your system, if you're ignoring the call to not drastically go and have a look at your health even, it could be simple things like not feeling so good after you have that cup of coffee, or, certain foods that you eat that don't tend to go down so well as others, or certain skin conditions, itches, rashes, stuff that you just put up with. Not only are they messages of imbalance, of something going on, but it's also about honoring the call and doing something about it. We can all agree that being proactive about things in our life, as opposed to being reactive, it's always going to benefit you 1,000-fold, right? So if you have certain day-to-day situations that don't feel so great, that don't make you feel whole, that do in fact make you feel like you're putting yourself last, you're putting other needs forward ahead of yours, then how's about we start thinking about ways you can proactively make those moments work in your favor, as opposed to getting to the point where you feel completely depleted, like your needs don't matter, like you haven't had any joy or happiness for the whole day or the whole week or beyond the whole month. And start sprinkling that little glitter of joy and goodness and happiness in any which way that you can. You would probably be really surprised at just how easy it is to create a beautiful space for yourself in most situations if you allowed yourself to do so. Where are you right now? What are you doing? Maybe not the same if you're driving in a car, but if you're at home, no matter what you're doing, could you light a nice fragrant candle to make the space feel warmer and more appealing, more beautiful? Could you drink that glass of water out of a beautiful cup? Sometimes I like to drink my water out of a wine glass because it just feels that little bit more decadent. Or make myself a cup of tea using my best little teacup with a saucer. Can you turn off any of the background noise around you right now? I mean, apart from the podcast, and put on some music that will make you feel good, whether it's something fun or high energy or seductive or something relaxing. It's funny because working in salon all these years, you'd think that I was definitely over the relaxation music, but whilst I used to get in the car and blare my loud rock music getting out of work, these days I'm accustomed to coming home and keeping the vibe going. Why not? Or putting on some nice jazz or classical music. Like, it really just depends on what you feel like right now, and not questioning it and saying, this is what I feel like, even though it probably doesn't sound right, and just going with it. If walking into your bedroom or any room in the house, you think, oh God, what a mess, how can you change it? Make a commitment to putting beautiful, fresh sheets on your bed. Make your room nice and feel like a beautiful, safe sanctuary. And just remember, if you are feeling right now that there's so much pressure to get everything done, let me just send you that message that nothing is so important that it can't wait, even just for a little bit. On that sort of mental side of things, I know that I have days where, I've got the to-do list to tick everything off of, but I'm just not vibing off it. In fact, it feels like there is cement weights around my feet and around my arms. I'm just not in the right mode to do the things that I'm supposed to be doing. And I guess I use inverted commas with that. It's a podcast. You can't see me doing it, but that's how it feels. I promise you that if you listen to what feels good and honor the message, you just might find that you will click over into far more productivity or far more love for what you're doing if you just listen to and honor the messages that are coming through. Sometimes sitting there doing computer work or whatever, it just needs to stop and I need to step away, maybe have a sit down and a cup of tea, maybe a short lie down. Maybe I'm feeling very called to get all my feelings out and nothing is going to die, nothing is going to be drastically affected if I just took 15 minutes to grab my journal. You can keep a journal. I highly recommend it. There'll be many more episodes to come where we speak about journaling, I'm sure. But just to write down what's on my heart, how I'm feeling, let it all come out on the page. And it's just that cleansing experience, which means everything else can flow much nicely afterwards. So being proactive, listening to the messages and honoring them is a big thing. It really is helpful. And the more you get into practice of that, the more you will just have it cemented in your mind that, I am important. My needs do matter. And when I listen to them, everything else flows so much better. The flip side to this, it's kind of same, but different, that if you know that you're entering into situations which don't feel great, maybe you know going to the shops now, maybe that's a good example. It's a little bit different pre-COVID where we used to just go off and do things. Now it can be a completely overwhelming experience. Be proactive. What can you do to make it feel better? Wear comfortable clothes. Wear comfortable shoes. Take with you your essential oil roller, maybe that's good for anxiety or stress. I've always got Rescue Remedy in my bag. Make sure that you're not, listening to crazy things on the news as you're driving. Put on some nice music or whatever you need. I carry crystals. You might have other things a part of your self-care toolkit that makes you feel more comfortable in certain situations. Tell yourself that if you're in a bit of a state where, things aren't feeling good for today, I've got to go catch up with a friend or whatever, tell yourself from the get-go as a proactive strategy, you know what? If I need to leave after an hour, I totally can. And there is no problem with that. Just have your little action plan in place. Be proactive about it. And that way, you can make sure that the experience feels good. And those messages that may come up that typically don't feel good are going to be dealt with in the most beautiful of ways. Now, the next mindset shift that helps you embody your importance, yours alone, is moving from this thought of just making do through to nothing else but the best will do for yourself. It's kind of like that time where you think cutting corners, I cut corners, but where does that really get me? A little bit like when you think, I'll avoid the traffic and try and take a detour, even though that sometimes doesn't work out for me. And then realizing, oh my gosh, that actually made my journey a hell of a lot longer. I should have just stayed the course. Nothing but the best will do for you. So I've had too many examples come up of late. I think this is a big lesson I'm learning at the moment, to be honest, where I kind of go for the, it's okay, no problem, it's fine, I'll just grab the cheaper thing, or I'll get what's available to me right now. Oh no, I won't wait for the thing that could be better. And I just subscribe to making do with what I've been given, what I've got. From a vibe perspective as well, knowing that something feels off, knowing that something upsets you or makes you angry, and just making do with it for whatever reason. Making your decision right now that you are important is also making the decision that, no, I'm not going to make do with that. Nothing but the best will do. So what do I have to do to make that feel amazing? And relationships. Where do you just make do? How could your relationships be better? We all think that we need to play certain roles with certain people in our life. But do we? If a relationship doesn't feel like it gives you back as much as you give it, then certain tweaks can be made. I'm not saying to get rid of every friend and every family member, but remember, if you don't feel good in these exchanges or interactions, find ways that they get to feel good or they don't happen at all. Plain and simple. To give you a good example of how this ties in with everything, a very recent thing that was going on in my life was a realization that I was not feeling good. And I was in such a pattern of not feeling physically good for so long that I never thought to attune to any of that. Once I did, though, my goodness, I thought, what the hell? What needs to be done? Change of diet, seek the right advice, all of that kind of thing. And it was done then. The choice was made. The honoring of the messages was received loud and clear. And in turn, I went from that, no, I'm not going to make do anymore with feeling yucky every day, with knowing that I'll drink coffee or eat certain foods. I always went, maybe dairy's not so good for me. And who knows? I love bread. I eat way too much of it. Could be a gluten thing. But going from, no big deal, to, wait a minute, nothing but the best will do. So I, sought the advice, did the things, did a bit of an elimination, saw how that affected my body. And it has honestly put me on a quest now to not only take exceptional care of myself and my health, but also to search for better and better. After doing a bit of an elimination process, this was a few months ago, and learning certain things about what was good for me and what wasn't, I've since allowed myself to settle into these new ways of being, these new dietary things, new ways of taking care of myself mentally as well as physically. And now, after that dust has settled, I want more. Nothing else but the best will do, because I know I'm too important, right? So right now I'm exploring other options which could take this sort of healing protocol to extreme levels, extreme heights, that is. It's all about the heights. And it's about seeing things from that point of view of abundance, putting yourself first, knowing you're too important, and feeling whole within yourself can only be looked at as a great thing, not as something that is negative. When we look at things in lack, it never has the same effect that you want it to. And this is why I think journaling and becoming very aware of what your needs are is important. Because if there are any little negative niggles in there, it's good to get them out, shift them. I believe that even just expressing it verbally or writing it down. I mean, that's why, when you guys come in to talk to me or Lainey in the clinic at Circle Skincare and Beauty, a lot of what you say actually does energetically shift a lot of what's going on in your life and what's on your heart. Writing it down, I believe it also does shift some of that stuff that's stagnant within your system, whether it's physically or energetically or emotionally. But then twisting everything to come at it from a positive point of view is always going to manifest more positive. So it's kind of like, rather than saying, I want to have a healthy body because I don't want to be fat anymore. That's an easy one to sort of tap into, but more so tweaking it, becoming at peace with the fact that, yes, I don't really love the weight, but it served me up until this point for whatever reason. But now I'm ready to be healthy and be at a good weight because I simply want to feel amazing and I deserve to. I mean, how much nicer does that sound? And how much more achievable does it feel to you energetically. Don't worry about the reality of it all. But coming at things from a good point rather than bad. I want a new job because my job sucks, doesn't feel as good as saying, I can't wait to have a new job because I can't wait to expand and meet new people, learn new things, learn new skills, and have the opportunity to be in that new space. It's going to be phenomenal. So we've spoken about becoming attuned to what feels good, honoring the messages, moving from that make-do mindset to no, only the best will do. The last thing I can tell you that helps you cement this mindset that you are too important and you deserve the best is to just be open and to trust, to surrender. It's almost something I say a little bit through gritted teeth, but I've learnt that lesson this year that trying to control everything is not cool. Trying to control everything from the big picture thinking, it is not cool. You can only control the little things around you at any given moment. You can only control, literally, what is happening to you right now. Whatever's happening to you right now while you're listening to this podcast, you can only control that. And even only to a certain extent, right? So surrender the need to know how everything's going to work out. Surrender those thoughts of how is everything going to get done. Surrender the need to be liked by everyone, knowing that what you do isn't going to actually have a huge impact on whether they like you or not. Surrender the thought that, oh no, if I took a bit of time for myself, oh no, the kids will go without. You know that's not true. And just trust that things are going to pop up that make you feel good. Trust that there's always the time or ability to pivot your ways to make things work out in your favor. And know that feeling whole, feeling important, feeling the best, knowing that only the best will do, is your deserved way of being. And that's it. Skin Ritual Wellness Circle podcast. Have to get used to saying that. Please join us for future episodes. Ones that you feel called to learn from and the ones that you feel called to vibe with. We'll have an array of different content that we'll be bringing you each week. But until then, please do seek us out on social media at Circle Skincare and Beauty. Or if you'd like to connect with us personally or know a little bit more about what we do at our headquarters in Beaconsfield, Victoria, then jump onto our website, circleskincareandbeauty.com. We will see you next time. Until then, feel good and own it. You've been listening to Megan Jean and Lainey Porter. From the bottom of our hearts, we truly thank you for joining us in the Skin Ritual Wellness Circle. You can find us at www.circleskincareandbeauty.com, and we are known as at Circle Skincare and Beauty on all social media. If you've enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, rate, review. It's going to help other people just like you find this supportive circle, bringing the skin ritual wellness vibes to all. We look forward to chatting with you next time.
Until then, feel good and own it.